Bonnie of Crackle.
Whoa!
Hey!
The art of sound design. Here's a quick background on sound design and how it is used around us. Sound design is the art and practice of creating soundtracks for a variety of needs. This involves specifying, acquiring, or creating auditory elements using audio production techniques and tools. In 1877, Thomas Edison invented the phonograph. The phonograph is the first machine that could record sound and play it back.
Piece of practical poetry. Mary had a little lamb, its feet were white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go.
In 1927, Thomas Edison released this footage saying that his foil recordings from the 1880s was the first sound recording. However, this was beaten by 20 years, and the first sound recording was made in 1860 by a Frenchman, Edward Leon Scott, on a phonograph. The song was refinished in 2008.
Of course, the sound pressure was going into the horn. When I play it back, what's going to happen is the stylus is going to touch the groove, which is an up and down waveform. There'll be no minimal air pressure going in, so the stylus will ride up and down that waveform. They're very quick up and down motions. That vibrates the diaphragm, which excites the air molecules at the bottom of the horn, and then the horn acts as an acoustic amplifier.
What is sound design used for? Vocal reinforcement, orchestra reinforcement, playback, foldback, effects playback and processing, practical effects, monitor and hearing enhancement, communications, general noise abatement. Vocal reinforcement. Vocal reinforcement, amplifying the actors' voices so that the audience can be... Wait, you can't hear me? What? Vocal reinforcement, amplifying the actors so that the audience can hear and understand them properly. Orchestra reinforcement is mixing the orchestra to benefit the audience, basically amplifying and shaping or clarifying the sound that the audience is hearing. Playback is when the sound system sends a pre-recorded music to the audience, actor, or even a singer. An example is singing along with a track. Foldback is a speaker used to direct sound to a performer. An example would be sending the orchestra materials to the actors on stage and the singer's vocals to the conductor. It is also used to send specific instruments around the orchestra pit so the musicians can hear each other. Effects playback and processing, using sound effects and special processing for environmental effects, or to shape specific performances. Practical effects are real doorbells or phones on stage that are wired to be operated for an effect on stage. For example, a phone can be wired or actually ring and stop when the actor picks it up. Monitor and hearing enhancement. These are not always tied together. This type of system allows the cast to hear in the green room and also dancers to hear the music on stage. This is really important in large venues. Communications. In large venues, a proper intercom and pages system already exists, but sometimes you'll have to patch into it, expand it, or work with it. General noise abatement. Basically, dampening the noise that is in the room. From noisy lighting instruments, putting rugs on stage to dampen the sound of the feet, to baffles like these ones.
Sound design and other aspects. Film, live performance, sound art, video games, Foley, and theatrical design. Film. In film, a sound designer used to be in charge of all the sound for the film. Recently, with updates in technology, that role has broadened, and sound designers for film are often like supervising sound editors in charge of all the areas of sound. Take a look at this example of what a film clip sounds like without and with sound. Live performance. Sound in live performance is really important. Just think of how concerts or public speaking would be without sound equipment. Sound art. Sound art, by definition, is art that uses sound as the primary medium. At the same time, the art can be the subject. The example we are going to show you is from lines. Lines attached to the wall, on the floor, and hanging from the ceiling in combination with sensors and electronics are forming 3 novel music instruments. Video games. Video games are often forgotten as a design element, but if you think of it, they have a little bit of everything. Sound, lights, the characters are in locations, and they are in costumes. Sound will give the game action, environment, and mood. It is also a way to connect the player emotionally to the game. Foley. Foley artists mainly are used for recording sound effects after the shooting of a film. Again, after the film. The artists watch the clips and create the sound that goes with the movie. It is often done in unconventional ways.
These tubes are going to freeze. That's how I got it. There's no sound there. I had to come up with the sound of all these water and freezing. The mixer's going to pitch me down and make this liquid sound thicker. I also use my voice a lot. I'm just going to carve with my voice or the water apexes around different regions that's just going to give it just another dimension. And then my voice. I hide my voice underneath these sounds, and I layer different things with my voice that are altered by my mixer.
Theatrical design. How does sound work, specifically in theater? Interesting fact, the first gentleman to be given the title of sound designer was Dan Dugan. He was working with 3 stereotape decks routed to 10 loudspeaker zones during the 1968 to 1969 season of American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco. So where do we start with sound design? Well, like everywhere else, we read, and read again. We read for fun, for inspiration, and for cueing. Directors' meetings. At the director's meeting, the director will go over their show concept, the time period the show is going to be set in, and any specifics that they may want for the show. Research. For research, we go over the year the show is set in and the place and time of day. We do this by looking up pictures that will give us inspiration and time period specific sound cues. Called for cues. All scripts have cues in them. The hard part is reading the script very carefully so that none of the sound cues are missed. Practicals are often mentioned in the script. A practical is an item that actually makes the sound versus a recording of a sound. An example of this would be using a telephone live on stage. What that means is that the phone itself would actually ring. And then there are other times that music or atmospheric sounds are called for in the script. Sound can portray atmospheric realism by giving you a specific place. For example, the beach or a swamp. These help set a general atmosphere and mood and occasionally are called for in the script. Music can also be called for in the script and is used not only to set a mood, but for scene changes. Paperwork is very important. It helps you prepare for your design. First, you make a rough list of sound designs called for in the script, design notes from the director, and add in your own sound ideas. Next, you make a cue list, which is gone over with the director and the stage manager. For cues in a show, we can either find cues or make them. To make cues, we often use a sound that we can manipulate into something else. We do this by using Pro Tools or GarageBand. Or, if it's simple enough, we can even use QLab. QLab. In this video, we can see an example of QLab's capabilities. Here, we have a Princess phone cue. With a simple drag and drop and a sound level check, the cue is ready to go. As we hit the go button, we can adjust the audio and even have a visual of the audio signature waves. Next, we can make the phone ring only 3 times and stop. Or we can add a stop and watch the actor pick up the phone. We can also make an abrupt stop within the ring that the actor has to answer by the phone. Last and not least, tech rehearsal. At the tech rehearsal, it is important for the sound designer to sit in different parts of the theater to hear what it is going to sound like around the room effectively. Here, they can get notes from the director and take their own personal notes. So, to wrap things up, in this video, we went over some uses for sound design. Some of the uses are vocal reinforcement, orchestra reinforcement, playback, foldback, effects, playback and processing, practical effects, monitor and hearing enhancement, communication, and general noise abatement. It is also important to remember that sound design can be used in film, live performances, sound art, video games, Foley, and theatrical design.